joining this late at night. So yeah, my name is Jamie Hall, and I work in pre-service teacher education at Iwate University. And today my co-presenter is Kodai Tamura.
Yes, my name is Kodai Tamura. I'm a graduate school student of Iwate University.
Okay, so let's get started with the presentation. So today I'm going to give you an overview of ePortfolios. I'm going to talk about how we use ePortfolios in our English teacher education program. I'll give you very brief overview of how we're using WordPress to build these ePortfolios. And then the main part of this presentation is going to be to answer these two questions. How can ePortfolios be used to bridge the theory gap divide? And how can ePortfolios be used to facilitate student-teacher reflection and development? So a brief overview of ePortfolios. Basically, an ePortfolio is just a digital collection of artifacts that are organized in such a way as to show a student-teacher's professional learning or their stage of development. And there are two purposes of ePortfolios. One is product, or to show the current stage of development of a teacher. And the second is process, which is to facilitate the development of the teacher. And our ePortfolios are both product and process. The purpose of our ePortfolios is to help student teachers bridge the theory-practice divide. And a second is to facilitate reflection and thus their personal and professional development. And the third is to promote collaborative learning between different generations of students. So now I'd like to talk about how we use ePortfolios in our program. So in our teaching English, so I work at a national university, and at national universities, students are required to take 4 English teaching methodology courses to get a English teacher's license. So we offer these 4 English teaching methodologies courses here. And what's special about these courses is that in each class, students also have a real teaching experience. So for example, in English Teaching Methodologies 1, the abbreviation is ETM. In ETM 1, they teach a class at an elementary school. In ETM 2, they also teach a class at an elementary school. In ETM 3, they teach a class at a junior high school. Then they have their teaching practicum between ETM 3 and ETM 4. And then in ETM 4, they reflect on their teaching practicum, their 4-week teaching practicum. Now, also in these classes, students are writing in their ePortfolios, and they write their philosophy, which is kind of their principles of English teaching and learning, their development, which is like their goals and whether or not they accomplished their goals, and a critical incident. A critical incident is something surprising that happened in the classroom that kind of challenged their philosophy. So they're writing in their ePortfolios in each ETM class, which is once a semester over 2 years. So over 2 years, they can kind of see their development. So basically, writing in an ePortfolio works like this. At the beginning of an ETM class, they write their goals. Then they write their philosophy, their principles, their beliefs about English teaching and learning. And then they have a teaching experience and they write their critical incident, like basically complications that happen in the classroom and what they learn from those complications. Then they write, after their teaching experience towards the ending of ETM, they write their philosophy or how their principles changed, and they write their development, whether or not they were able to accomplish their goals. So here is an example of a student portfolio right here. So you'll see that her name is Ellen, and you'll see that for ETM2, she's written her development, she's written her philosophy, her principles, and then she has a critical incident. And she'll do this for ETM3 and ETM4. Okay, so excuse me, back to here. So very briefly, to create the ePortfolios, we have used WordPress, which is known for blogging. And I'm going to skip this slide because time is limited, but I will say that we make particular use of tags, tagging posts. A post is basically one ePortfolio entry. And we use tags to like organize posts by content. and I'll discuss that a little bit later. So we currently have 3 ePortfolio sites in use. We have the ETM Mice, which started in 2020. The reason why we call it the mice is because the year 2020 was the year of the rat, okay? We have the ETM Boars, which started in 2019, and that was the year of the boar. And then we have the ETM Knowledge Base, which is an ePortfolio archive from 2015 to 2020. So today we're going to show you these sites and, well, the boar site and the knowledge base. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how we use ePortfolios to bridge the theory gap divide. So these are the areas of learning in the ETM classes. And it would take me about a half hour to discuss this. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview of this. We have 4 primary areas. Self-development through reflection means basically students experience dilemmas and issues in their teaching, and they develop kind of a new attitude and a new character by resolving these dilemmas and issues. Knowledge of schools and society is, knowledge between their teaching and bigger issues such as global and social issues, formulating a reason for teaching English in Japan. English teaching and learning, another big area, is basically theoretical and practical knowledge. And last, language proficiency and knowledge is, the necessary English knowledge and skills to be able to do an English class. So in terms of our methodology for researching the extent to which we were able to bridge theory and practice, we had students tag their ePortfolio posts, and they tagged their ePortfolio posts from a list of tags made by myself. At the very beginning, we had students make their own tags, but the problem was there were misspellings, so there were like 5 or 6 tags, different kinds of tags that basically meant the same thing. So I ended up making a list myself. So students tagged their ePortfolios. And let me give you an example. This comes from a student, Helen. And so if we go to her teaching philosophy for ETM2, we can see that she discusses active learning, okay? So what I can do is I can go to edit post, all right? And then I'm going to go down here and we see that we have a group of tags, philosophy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add active learning right here. Okay, so I've added active learning, and then I'm going to click update. I'm going to go to view post, and then we'll see, boom, in the bottom right here, we have active learning. And if we click on the active learning tag, then we can see all the other philosophy posts, or not all the other posts, excuse me, that discuss active learning. Okay, so then after students tagged the posts, then what we did is we matched the tag with one of these ETM areas. So for example, if I go to Kodai's ePortfolio, and this is on the knowledge base, so this is on the ePortfolio archive, and I go to development, we'll see that in development, Kodai mentions TBLT, task-based language teaching. So if I edit the post here, and I'm going to go down to the tag categories, and I'm going to choose a group methods, boom. And then under methods, I don't know, where is it? Right here. Then I'm going to write TBLT, and it's a CI. No, excuse me, it's not a CI, it's development. So I'll try again, TBLT for development, update. All right, then I'm going to go to view post, and we'll see that at the very bottom, we have methods TBLT. All right. And these are all the development posts that mention TBLT. Students talk about learning something about TBLT, task-based language teaching, okay? And then the last step in this methodology was to calculate which areas were most frequently discussed. So then if we go to the results, and again, I'm sorry, there's a lot of information on here. These are all the areas of English teaching methodologies. And the numbers here are the number of posts that, number of portfolio posts that touch upon a particular area. So what we can see is that there's a balance of, like, for example, methods. So theoretical knowledge, there's a balance of like practical skills such as interacting with and managing students. And also ETM members are talking about personal growth. So there is a lot of theory and practice that they are discussing. One thing that I wish that they would have discussed more, like, for example, reason for English. Why do we teach English? Maybe linking what they're doing with some global or social issues. And also knowledge of English. Like, for example, if they taught relative clauses, what did they learn about relative clauses? Those would have been things that I would like to have seen a little bit more of. Okay. So if we go to kind of the benefits, I think ePortfolios can show the extent to which a given student teacher understands classroom theory. And I think that the tagging system that I just showed you can work as a tool for linking experience and theory. And it has definitely challenged me, the instructor, to rethink my like kind of pre-service teacher education and its objectives. All right. But what I've noticed here, and now we're going to get to the part where Kodai is going to start in terms of using ePortfolios to facilitate student-teacher reflection and development. What I found is that students' ePortfolio entries are interesting, but they're not very profound, but that's to be expected because, you know, they're just like university students and trying to figure things out. But I do think that like the ePortfolios are snapshots of the writers at particular stages of their lives. So Kodai is going to be talking to us, and when he discusses his like ePortfolio entries in ETM1, that's what Kodai was like in ETM1. And when he discusses in ETM2, that's what Kodai was like in ETM2. And what I found is that deeper level reflection of these portfolio posts and holistically understanding a student teacher's development is more likely to happen when student teachers can reflect on these various snapshots. So what I found is like the best reflection happens after teachers have finished this program and they can reflect on their portfolio entries over 2 years. So what we do to encourage student teacher reflection is after they finished ETM is we ask them to highlight in their posts keywords that represent their philosophy, goals, and development. So if we go to, again, Kodai's portfolio, so excuse me, I'm going to go to Kodai's portfolio. So if we go to Kodai's development here, all right, we'll see that I've asked him to highlight keywords that represent like his development in ETM2, that represent his development in ETM3, okay? So first they highlight keywords, and then these are actually put into vivo, and they are called vivo codes and used for later analysis. Then what we do is we output these keywords into a mind map. And then we give the teacher time to look at the mind map. And then at the very ending, we do something called core reflection. The purpose of core reflection is for the student teacher to like look at themselves holistically, but also objectively. We ask about the environment. What kind of, environment have you taught in? Behavior. What kind of issues did you experience and how did you cope with these issues? Competencies. What kind of skills did you develop? Belief. How did your beliefs change? Identity. How did your thoughts about who you are change? And last, mission. How did your mission change? Okay, so sorry, I know that I'm giving you a lot to digest here, but now what we have is we have Kodai's mind map. So these are kind of the keywords of Kodai's teaching portfolios over the span of 2 years, okay? And I am going to ask Kodai questions for core reflection, and Kodai is going to comment on these questions. Okay, so Kodai, are
Just
you ready?
briefly to intrude,
yes.
you have 10 minutes left.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
10 minutes left, perfect. So what's gonna happen is Kodai and I are in the same room. So we're very close to each other. So I'm gonna turn off my mic and he's gonna turn on his mic, but I'm hoping that you're gonna be able to hear me if I speak very loud, okay? All right, so here we go. Okay, so Kodai, my first question for you is, what is it that you have had to cope with over your 4 years?
Okay, so my interest is ICT, so I tried to use ICT tools in the classes. So, there are a lot of trouble happen in the classes, and so I also tried to use the method in classes, but it didn't go well. So it is the yeah my troubles. Yeah.
Okay, I see. So like challenging with ICT in the class has been your big issue. And how have you tried to cope with this issue?
Yeah, so after that, I tried to prepare for the lessons in advance, and so how do we say what do we do, what do we say in classes? So yeah, it's getting better in classes, and I also tried to think about the theories about, for example, TBLT, what is the aim in the class, and what is how to go to the goal and so on. So it's getting better, I think.
So another thing that you had to struggle with was methodologies, new methodologies like TBLT.
Yeah.
Understood. And you coped with it. So my next question is, what can you do now that you could not do before?
Yeah, so planning is the key point for me. So as I said before, I tried to plan, and so what do we do at what we supposed to do. So I tried to think about that in the yeah yeah it is.
Okay, great. So I think you've learned to be a better planner, and you've become more prepared. I see. So can you tell me, what do you believe in? Like how has we have your philosophy written here, but how has your philosophy changed?
Yeah, so at first ICT is a specific uh field of the education, but I thought that ICT is just one of the materials in class. So I tried to think with the ICT with the other materials in class. It is my belief.
Okay, I see. So now I think your teaching has expanded beyond ICT,
Yeah.
and you're connecting ICT better with student learning. I see. And you think that ICT is an important part of facilitating student learning.
Yeah.
Understood. So Kodai, next big question. Who are you?
Yeah, so I'm now a graduate school student, and I want to become a junior high school English teacher. So, but I'm also a technical guy, so I want to be I want to be educator to with technology in class.
Okay, so this is kind of all right. So you want to be you consider yourself an educator who's adept at ICT. So
Yeah.
my last question is your mission. Why are you here?
Yeah, so I want to be an educator with technology. So I want to develop teaching skills in English and technology skills in education. And finally, I want to be a pioneer in field of education in my prefecture.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so can everybody, so basically, I asked Kodai these 6 questions, okay? This is called core reflection. And I think what Kodai, I think his theme is, I'm sorry, Kodai's nickname is David, okay? But David's has kind of explained to us his path to becoming a pioneer in ICT and in foreign language learning in Iwate. So to wrap this up, from my experience in using ePortfolios in pre-service teacher education, in terms of linking theory and practice, as I said before, ePortfolio writing can inform the instructor of areas that students are learning and are not learning, classroom areas, okay? And ePortfolio shows evidence of students giving holistic snapshots of their development. So from looking at the ePortfolios, we can see how students have grown personally, theoretically, and practically. And I think that the tagging system has the potential to further enhance linking theory and practice among student teachers. And in terms of gauging student teacher development, what I want to do after this is I want to kind of interview student teachers more. I do think that the ePortfolios can be an important tool for interviewing student teachers and understanding their development after they have finished the English teaching methodology classes. So anyway, that's it. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Also, we have sent to you this link of the presentation. You can access the link and actually see the ePortfolio yourself. If you'd like to read student posts, you can contact me and I will give you a username and password so that you can actually read the portfolios. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Jimmy and Kodai. Can we have everyone turn their mics on
So we're,
and let's...
ready for questions.
Okay, can we have a round of applause first for the presentation? Okay.
Or anything.
And
All right. All right, sorry, kind of screwed this thing up. I was talking with my mic off. Sorry. Are there any
no,
questions?
we can hear you now.
Okay. Could you hear me before?
Yes.
You could? All right.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Almost a technical catastrophe.
It came out nice, Jamie. Thank you very much. This is Sean in Fukushima.
Thank you. Nice to hear from you.
May we ask questions now?
Please.
Okay. Yeah, so I joined, I was a few minutes late at the beginning, but it seems to me that it's kind of like a log or a diary for students to keep records of their theories, their evolutions of their theories, their practices, and their evolutions of their practices. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm wondering if you've imposed any minimums or maximums on the writings. Like, do you say you have to do 2 pages or a week or anything like that?
Well, so they only write like, it's only a few times a semester. So let me get back to, the slide right here. So basically they write about 5 times a semester.
Okay.
Okay. And I do give a rubric.
Right.
And part of the rubric is, actually, I didn't say this, but part of the rubric is that they do have to, in their philosophy, I do ask them to try to connect like classroom theory with their experiences. And that is part of the rubric.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
And I've learned that, yeah, if you don't do that, the quality is not so good.
Right.
So
yeah.
in a way, I mean, they are doing this for a grade. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed one other question, sorry if I may, goals and then philosophy, or I was thinking maybe philosophy and then goals, like just the order of those two. I wonder if they're interchangeable.
Well, yeah, but
They play off each other, right? Maybe?
yeah, they do play off each other. Yeah, typically I have them write their goals first and then their philosophy like the next week.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, usually at the beginning of the semester, I present the syllabus, and then that's kind of like a good time for them to think about their goals.
Right. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And are there any other questions? So yeah, it took just a little bit using WordPress. It took about 2 or 3 years for me to really be able to develop the site and have students like use it well. One of the big issues was we had it on a very a poor server. And so when more than 15 students logged in at once, I get like the white screen of death. And so that, and I found that finally, when we got rid of the technical issues, then like the entries became very interesting. But I've found like the whole art of this is basically you have to design a system that people can use easily and that like anybody can use. That's the big challenge. It's got to be like foolproof. And it took about 2 or 3 years to get to that stage. It's still not foolproof, but it's easy enough to use that technology is worthless if it's difficult to use.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And just to say, there were no catastrophes in here, technological, as you thought maybe you had. Your voice was audible even when Kodai was speaking.
Right.
So it worked out great, you know.
Okay.
I don't know, the muting thing was just a very temporary, just in between when we were switching back to this camera or something. So it worked out fine.
All right.
How much total
Okay.
time have your students got to teach in teaching experience, I wonder?
So, right, they, in the teaching methodologies class, it's only like one class and they teach in like groups of 2 or 3. So in Eikoka Kyoikuho Ichi, ETM1, it's only one class in an elementary school. In ETM2, one class in an elementary school. ETM3, they teach at a junior high school. And then after ETM3, they have their teaching practicum, which is 4 weeks. And then in ETM4, they reflect on that teaching practicum, but they don't have a class in ETM4.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, time is up. And
Okay.
if you'd like to continue the conversation, you're welcome to move to the Hangouts, the Hangout
Okay.
rooms, and continue it there. There's nothing after this, so we've gone a little bit over time, but that shouldn't be any kind of problem. And I'd also like to invite you to check out the educational materials exhibit. We have a lot of sponsors at the conference as well. So
How do we
we can
check
give
that
them-
out?
on the Eventzilla page,
Okay.
if you go to the top page and you'll see the live schedule there.
Right.
You'll see a list of rooms and it's on the top page.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can do this in person next year, but I appreciate the effort though. I mean, it's.
Yeah. There's,
Well done.
it's hard to go out for a drink after all the presentations.
Right, yeah, it's like, well, David and I.
See you next year without masks, hopefully.
Right, yes. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. So I'll end the recording now and